So let me explain this to you guys. And this is because the thing, when people see that, we're like, oh my God, this dude's got like a 65% win rate in Among Us. That's fucking insane. 65% win rate in Among Us is not insane. I'm going to show you guys how we do this. Bring in the whiteboard over. Fuck. Okay, we're teaching today, okay? So the reason why 65% win rate or like 63% win rate isn't that crazy, a lot of people are coming from games, like think about it, you guys are all coming from, like how many of you guys come from like, or play games like League of Legends or Overwatch or CSGO, Valorant, any game where it's like team versus team, or even like 1v1 games, StarCraft, whatever the case is. The problem is what you're looking at is games where it's like one team wins, the other team loses, one team wins. Even though this is imposters versus crewmates, the number of players is not equal for who is winning and who is losing. An example of this is like battle royales. Let's say in Apex Legends, I have a 40% win rate. Someone would be like, 40%, that's less than 50, you suck. What? No, if you won 40% of your Apex Legends games, you're a fucking god, because it's a battle royale, right? Like opposite effect occurs with Among Us. So here's how it looks. We have 0.8 and 0.2. This represents 80% for crewmate, 20% for imposter. In fact, we'll even do crew in blue, so it's a little bit easier. So this is obvious. Everyone should be okay with this, right? Obviously, you have an 80% chance of getting crewmate, 20% of imposter. Here's where I get the win rates from, though. The win rates we get from, I actually looked at, it was like well over 1,000 games from XQC's games and Train's games, because they're all in these like streamer lobbies where the rule sets are the same, and typically people are at least somewhat within the same skill level. Every now and then you get like a Zerka in there and they just fuck the whole data set up. But hey, whatever, you know, you run with it. Sometimes, you know, you get 3 imposters in the game, whatever. Anyways, so the way you should think about it is this, right? I am not looking at XQC's win rate or Train's win rate. Like the way Train has it on his stream is he has something like this. He'll have like, it'll look like this. It's like, he'll have like 10, 2, and then he'll have like, he'll have something like that, like crew 10, 2, imposter 3, 4. I'm not just looking at his specific data. What I'm actually doing is adding together, when I get this from not just Train's lobbies, but a bunch of other people's lobbies, what I'm actually doing is I'm adding together to figure out what is the crew win rate versus the imposter win rate. So I'm actually taking, if I want to calculate crew win rate, is these two numbers. I'm taking the times that Train won as crew and the times that he lost as imposter, and then we take the times that he lost as crew and won as imposter to calculate the imposter's win rate. Cool. It doesn't even, and what's cool is like the data, I already had predictions for the data. So I said, obviously it's got, like, I was like, it's got to be somewhere between probably like 65 and 75 was my guess. That was my initial prediction, just to make sure I'm not like going fucking crazy and have to like check into other things. Or like that, maybe I have a bad set. It ended up being 70% like on the dot. Like it was like 70.01, whatever, a bunch of other fucking numbers. So that's why I'm like, I'm confident with 70%. Now, a bunch of the streamers are sending me more data so I can update it. The model can always be updated even if the win rates change. So let's assume then that imposters have a 30% win rate. So again, you know, it's not this data, but we figure out imposters have 30% and crewmate has 70%, right? And then crew is 70. And then it's simple math, guys. This is easy shit. Ready? 0.7, or sorry, 0.8. 7. 0.2 times 0.3. Add these together. 62% average win rate. Easy. Easy clap. That's the easy shit. And just like that, we can generally figure out what lobbies are. So to be clear, remember, people care about 3 different win rates. 3 different win rates. They care about your imposter win rate, your crewmate win rate, and your overall win rate. Your imposter win rate plus your crewmate win rate are not your overall win rate. The other way of thinking about this is like a 4x4 table. There's 4 things we care about. It's like, did I get crewmate? And did I win? What percentage is that? Did I get crewmate and did I lose? What percentage is that? Did I get imposter and win? And did I get imposter and lose? Like those are 4 things that are like the 4 outcomes of the game, right? When we calculate your personal imposter win rate, we are ignoring the crewmate ones, or those percentages. We're actually saying, hey, given that you got imposter, ignoring the outcome of the game and the randomness that you might get imposter or not. It's like, given that you got imposter, did you win the game or not? And the reality is, like, given imposter, you have a 30%, like the average is 30% chance to win. So for our good friend, Master Fiend, given that he gets imposter, he only wins 31% of the time, which is, you know, it's okay. Given that he wins, or given that he gets crewmate, he only wins 69% of the time. It's like 69.3% of the time. And that's a little, you know, it's like right at 70, which is the expected imposter win rate, or crewmate win rate. His overall average is basically spot on, which is 62%. I would say Master Fiend is a very average-ish player. Now, hold on before you flame me and before you flame Master Fiend. You have to remember that Master Fiend is playing in high elo lobbies. So, another explanation of that real quick. If we think that all of the streamers are good, like those streamers who are playing Among Us, like these are some of the better players, right? People like Jelly, 5UP, Train. If we think these are some of the better players, then the way this works is he's keeping a 62% win rate, like an average-ish win rate at the highest level. You can be in the higher parts of League of Legends and still have somewhere between like a 50-55% win rate if you play enough games, right? Here's what this could look like. I could play a bunch of games and have a 50% win rate and be here on the elo curve. So this is like, it is true. Now it is true. I will say this. We know Omar, I will say this to Master Fiend. He is not, it is likely that he is not one of the best players. And here's why. The very best players will have an above 62% win rate despite playing in high elo. The way the distribution works is that eventually you should be beating more players than you lose against, or you should be beating the expected average win rate. And that's going to be people like Jelly. That's going to be people like Train. For instance, to compare Train and Master Fiend, what was Train's win rate? Train's win rate's really good. Yeah, so here's an example. Train's win rate, his overall win rate is not 62%. Train's overall win rate is 69%. So his is actually overall 69%. His crewmate win rate is above the 70% average. It's slightly above. It's 74% as opposed to 70. His imposter win rate is absolutely fucking bonkers. His Train's imposter win rate is 47%, which is, again, according to my model and what I'm generally assuming are like the win rates for these things, is really fucking good. And even if you were like, well, I don't think imposters win that much, Train can't be that good. Even if you believe that, the more win rate is shifted to imposter, the worse the win rates look. Think about it this way. Because there's only 2 imposters who can win the game versus 8 crewmates, if the win rate ever shifts more in favor of crewmates, like crewmates actually do win more, then we expect the overall average win rate to also increase, right? So the more crewmates win, the more likely it's not 62% win rate. It's more like, you know, maybe 63, 64, 65% is actually a good win rate. Anyways, Train's overall win rate, 69%. His crewmate win rate is 74%. His imposter win rate is 47%. Yeah, I mean, like you can take inspiration from poker. You can take inspirations from battle royales to calculate some of this stuff. Let's discuss the fucking complicated shit, which would be how we would figure out someone's elo in this game, because this gets really fucking shitty. The way elo works is we're giving you points, plus or minus certain points, based off of your whether you win or lose, and based off of who you play against. So a couple huge assumptions up front. If you win 50% of your games as imposter, you're fucking insane. You're literally one of the best imposters. I don't know if you can do elo at the moment because there's no MMR baseline. I gave people an MMR baseline, Taylor. I just like basically assigned everyone like it's a pseudo arbitrary number. Like a lot of games actually just set you at a baseline number. They'll set you like 1200, 1300. I did 1500 because I'm assuming a lot of the players coming into Among Us are already like decent social game-ish players. So I'm just like going to give them, I'm just going to set them at 1500. And when you say assuming you're in a decent lobby, I think most of the streamers have converged upon like streamer lobbies with other good players. So to do an elo calculation, this is not an elo calculation. I'm not calculating your elo. We should call it an elo approximation. So the way I would calculate your elo, or sorry, approximate your elo, I give you the number 1500, okay? I'm gonna start you at 1500. What would normally happen is a 1500 elo player against another 1500 elo player in chess, and assuming it's like 50-50 win-loss, right? Or the game can be either won or lost, and it's like that same equal 50-50. The way it works is based off of the K factor, or how much elo you are typically winning or losing in a given game. K factor usually, you know, is the adjustable thing that adjusts based on whether you're streaking or not, or whether you're new to the game or not. But in general, it's like you have 1500 elo. That's your elo number, okay? When you win a game with a K factor of 20, you go up 20 elo. If you lose that game, you go down 20 elo. That's assuming 50-50 win rate. Now, I have messaged my good friend who is in Korea, who is actually a like master's level chess player and also used to like create some of the like balance systems for like Riot's matchmaking, who knows this stuff way better, because I need to check to make sure that the way I've adjusted the K factor is correct. Because what I think, and to me it like just intuitively makes sense that you do it this way. There might be some other more complex way, but my thought is if the K factor is 20, if you win you go up 5, or sorry, if you win you go up 10, if you lose you go down 10. The difference is the K factor, that's 20. What I'm saying is, because our K factor is still 20, if you win, you only go up, I think it's 7.6, and if you lose, you go down 12.4. Where do I get those numbers? Why is it not just 10 and 10 again? Well, again, because the average win rate is 62%, and 62% of the 20 is 12.4. So what we're basically saying is, because you're more likely to win a game than not, when you lose, you actually lose more. When you win, you don't win as much. That is actually how I adjusted the ELO system here. What system are you using? Federation system, the chess system. ELO systems are used across all sorts of matchmaking. So Taylor has been in our chat, and Taylor's messaging some good critiques, not calling you out, Taylor. When I am doing this, it is not an ELO calculation. You guys have to believe me. This is the biggest ELO approximation ever. Because Taylor, you're right. The things that we're saying is, hey, all of the rule sets are typically staying the same. We're not adjusting for maps. We're also like saying that, remember at the very start when I said 1500 elo versus 1500 elo, what we're basically saying is that when I'm a 1500 elo crewmate, the average elo of everyone else in the game averages out to 1500 as well. So the problem is, if I get into a game and 5-up is in that game, you know, let's say I'm in a lobby with like where it's me and then there's 5-up Yeti and all the good ones, right? Like they drag the average elo way higher than mine, which means if I win in that lobby as either crewmate or as imposter, my elo should actually go up more than just the amount that I stated previously, because elo does depend on who you're facing. That's like the beauty of the system, which we're basically throwing out with my shitty method. If I play in a lobby and there's like 3 Zerkas and I lose, my elo should go down even more than the 12.2. So we're basically ignoring that. I'm not holding you to a calculation, bro. I like what you're doing. I'm just saying it would be difficult to implement a system. Oh, no. It'd actually be, I mean, the way you would implement that, if you implemented the system in the game, it would ruin the game. No one wants matchmaking in Among Us. I am trying to, in absence of matchmaking in Among Us, do a fun way of approximating streamers' elo, because it's fun. And I can show you guys like the fruits of like what an approximation looks like. So 20 is our K factor. Remember, 20 is our K factor. We're at 1500, but because it's adjusted for the win rate of Among Us, let's say I win a game, cool. I went up 7.6, cool. If I lose my next game, I actually go down even further. I will say this, a better version of this system adjusts for both imposter and crewmate, so I can calculate your imposter elo and your crewmate elo and give you more robust data that way. The way I'm calculating is I'm not actually doing it based off imposter or crewmate. I'm saying if you play enough games, it's gonna average out, right? So yeah, like if you get a run of like 5 imposter games in a row, in my system, this is why it's a bad system. It's not good in practice. It wouldn't be good for a matchmaking system. A matchmaking system would actually want to adjust for crew win or imposter win, because in my system, if you got a shitty coin flip and you got 8 imposter games in a row and you won 4 of them, 50% win rate on imposter. That's fucking insane. Guess what? Your elo would go down, because you're not beating the 62% win rate that we say you have to beat for your elo to go up, right? Because it's basically you're unlucky because you got imposter 8 times in a row. The reason why I can calculate it this way when I do the elo calculations is I'm not looking at a sample size of 8 games. I'm looking at a sample size for these players of like thousands of games, right? So I can look at like Train has like 1,300 games, so I'm like, cool, I can just average out his imposter wins and his crewmate wins. You have to factor in your imposter. No, you don't have to. Like these are things you don't have to. Like if you guys want, what you're asking for then is for even more, which would be performance-based matchmaking, which is like how many kills does your imposter dude win, or like stuff like that. Like there's all sorts of like more complicated things we could do with the matchmaking, but that gets even more absurd, right? They should implement ELO and make leaderboards? Absolutely not. 100% do not think this game should ever do that. I think that is a horrible fucking idea. ELO will perpetually inflate with an average of 62% instead of 50%. Cognito, That's just not true. See, Cognito, are you not listening to what we just said? Elo will not perpetually inflate because we've adjusted the K factor so that when you lose a game, you lose more Elo than if you win a game, all things being equal. I literally just explained how that won't happen in my model. Let's grab Train's numbers. What happens? I need you guys to keep up with me. Let's go. What were Train's numbers? So Train's numbers, his crew win rate is 74%. His imposter win rate is 47%. He had 1,200 games. So we have his win rates, and we have a data set of 1,200 games for him. It was 47% as imposter, I think. Anyways, again, we're not actually mathing it out. I'm going to explain it out here. So what happens is Train is actually winning a bunch of games. Like, he'll win games, gain Elo, lose games, gain Elo. What we basically do is Train at a K factor of 20 will keep rising in Elo, and after about, I think it was around his like 600, again these are all approximations, so somewhere around his 600th or 700th game, Train hit 2400 Elo, which is good. In chess, I think that's like Masters equivalent. So Train eventually hits Masters at 2400. Now we have to make an adjustment. We have to lower his K factor down to 10, and the reason for this is, like, if you guys see chess, like, you'll see like this weird thing where like 2400 is a Masters player, but then really far up is like a Grandmaster, like 2800 or something crazy like that, like a big discrepancy. That's even after they've narrowed the Elo band by basically adjusting the 2500 is Grandmaster. Yeah. So what they basically do is they tighten the Elo band, like literally just the numerical value. As you hit 2400, your K factor is decreased. Which means you just can't lose or gain Elo as fast once you've basically proven that you're at the 2400 level. So at that point, then Train is only getting what, 3.8 Elo per win and 6.2 Elo per loss. Again, here's a big thing, and this is where we come into. So we take the rest of his like 500 some odd games or whatever, and we calculate all of that out, and Train ends up at about 2805 Elo. Train in our like loose approximation with like the K factor at 20, it's 2400 Elo. When we tease it out and go with this lower K factor and bring it all the way out for the rest of his games, we get him to about 2805. The problem is he's going to keep going. Yeah, that's Magnus Elo. The problem is he's going to keep going. Chat, why is he going to keep going? 2805. This is important. This is the approximation. He is not a 2805 player. It is likely that he's actually not that high right now. He's definitely higher than 2400 though. The reason why he's going to keep going higher is because he's always going to, like, if he just keeps this 70, what's his overall win rate? 69% overall win rate. He's just going to keep going up. But guess what? When you get to the very end, when you get to the end of this curve, you have to have a higher win rate. You have to have a higher win rate than average to even maintain yourself up here, because fundamentally you're playing lower players. Let's say this is Train, 2800, right? And I have a matchmaking queue to pull from his Elo, and this is my distribution. Remember, this is sort of like number of players. Again, it's not matchmaking, but like look at the size of player base that we could grab. That part that I just shaded it on the left, those are all players below Train. Well, let's zoom this in. And this is like the band that I pull from. If this is Train at 2800, because again, we've gone to the best, and then the very best, like if this is 5 up, right? Like let's say this is 5 up. We'll say is the best, right? Let's say 5 ups over here. The problem is the number of players that Train can even get in his lobby when he plays, the likelihood that he's playing with purple, the best players, is way lower than he's playing with orange, players who are lower Elo than him. So what ends up happening is that Train's average Elo, and we can even plug this. We can plug this into an Elo calculator. So even if Train is 2800 Elo, he's not playing in a 2800 Elo lobby a lot of the time. He's actually playing in lower elo lobbies. Let's say train is 2,800, but now that he's hit this peak of being one of the top Among Us players, the average lobby he's playing in, maybe it's still only 2,400. If the K value is 10 and he wins in a 50-50 scenario, he only gets plus 0.8. If he loses 9.2, and that's in the 50-50 lobby. So if he wins in a lobby like that where the average elo is 2,400 and that's in 50-50, that's a 50-50 win rate lobby, not the 62%. So if he wins in that lobby, he is getting less than he's probably getting 0.5. He's getting 0.5 elo. If he loses 9.5. He loses a shit ton. So it's likely that once, that he is still losing games up there. And even though he keeps his higher, and again, it'll drag him down. And then his, once it drags down, then he hits the 2,400 elo lobbies point again. He can then win and climb up again. So where is Train's elo likely? It's in this approximation somewhere probably between 2,400 and 2,800. And again, this is using my method, using this system. It's likely that his elo is 2,500. If in this weird approximation I have, it's somewhere between 24 and 2,500. Do most good elo systems rely on a bell-like curve? Yes. Did you ever play chess? Yes. But again, also I worked on League of Legends and we run a system for this. I will now do Q&A to answer questions about how I did these approximations and any other things you guys want to know. Problem is that you're assuming a normal distribution. I mean, yeah, oh god, dude, all the fucking stat sallies are gonna come out and be like, oh, but Blaustoise, you're assuming that. Listen, guys, I got assumptions out the wazoo for this model. There's a bajillion assumptions. It's the only, I don't have access to there's no game data here. I'm doing my best, guys. Cody, if you actually made a matchmaking system, you would do it by whether you won as imposter or lost as imposter. Whether you won as crewmate or lost as crewmate, for that same reason I mentioned earlier, right? If you have 8 imposter games in a row, let's just say you get unlucky and you get 8 imposter games in a row, it would feel like shit to win 50% of them, which is insane, and lose elo. It would also basically make it so, think about it. If you ever got imposter, you should just dodge the game, because you're just more likely to lose. That's why you can't. The reason why I'm not doing that is because I'm just doing aggregate stats for 1,000+ games for people, so I don't have to be as specific about it. McConnell's elo is actually kind of insane, at least from the data he sent me, which isn't fake data. It's the Among Us data, and he generally says he only plays in the streamer lobbies. McConnell's imposter win rate was close to, I think it was around 50%, which is absolutely fucking nutty. A 50% imposter win rate is insane. What's the best player you think of based on win rate and personal opinion? The best I've personally played with is 5UP. I'd say 5UP, Jelly. Here's the other thing. So Toast is an interesting one, because Toast, if I looked at his stats, might have some of the best stats. And I'm not trying to roast the offline TV crew. I just don't think that group plays as sweaty as the XQC lobbies. So when we say Toast is smurfing, yes, Toast is smurfing. My model, because it doesn't have matchmaking, has to assume that you're generally playing with players at your level, and Toast literally smurfs sometimes. I think Toast is unproven. I think Toast has to spam games in the really sweaty lobbies for me to know.